Hi, everybody. Welcome to Something to Talk About, where I talk about A Song of Ice and Fire lore. This is a brand new series I'm trying out. And so why don't you come up and rent some books? Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I am your librarian today. So I got I got an idea where I was just, going through the books, and I was thinking there's a lot of in-world books. So why don't I be the librarian and tell you about in-world Game of Thrones, The Song of Ice and Fire books? And not the one that we all got to go buy, not Fire and Blood, all right? And you can go get that one yourself. Let me tell you about the ones you don't know about. And I don't know why I started with this one. There's plenty of good ones, and go ahead and give me your requests. These can be rather quick episodes. I'm doing the history of the Ironborn, the Song of Ice and Fire, Librarian. It's me. And so let's just get into it. So a summary of the book, and then I'm going to tell you about when it's mentioned and the importance in the series. So a little summary, well, not even a summary, just about the book. So History of the Ironborn is written by Archmaester Hierig, about the history of the Ironborn people from the Iron Islands. According to the book, there has not been a king's moot in 4,000 years, although, according to Maester Disdains, why do they all got awful names? According to his book, Questions, it's been 2,000 years. Only once has there been a king's moot decision that's been overturned. Possibly the case of Torrig Greyiron, the latecomer. So, possibly. So, when has this been mentioned, right? So, let's get to its mentions in the books. So, in A Feast for Crows, Asha Greyjoy visits her uncle Roderick the Reader, Roderick Harlaw. Homeboy loves his books, and we get a good sense of how learned the guy is, and he gives a book recommendation. You probably should read it, or at least listen to the audiobook at Deepwood Mott. So he tells Asha, you should read this, right? No, sorry, I'm screwing this up. If he gives one, because he is such a learned man, you should probably read it. That's what I'm getting at. I ruined my own joke. At Deepwood Mott, Asha recalls of how after Euron was named a new king at the King's Moot, Roderick tells her to flee, and while Euron was busy. He also recommends her to read Archmaester Hierig's History of the Ironborn. That's the book we're talking about here. So he's like, you should totally read this book, which accounts the only time a King's Moot decision was overturned. So we don't know what it is, but we do know of one of the other cases. So we can all just make the assumption that the case he is talking about that is mentioned in the book is the only one that we ever hear about, right? So he goes, go read this book. So most likely the case is Torgon the Latecomer. Tristan Botley also mentions Torgon to her at one point, and she kisses him because he's like, brings him up, and she's like, oh yeah, Torgon the Latecomer, I should know about this. So that's most likely mentioned in the book. So what's the importance here? Who's Torgon the Latecomer, if this, of course, is the one time it was overturned that's mentioned in History of the Ironborn? Well, who is he? So most likely the King's Moot that the book is talking about that was overturned is Torgon the Latecomer. So Torgon was the eldest son of King Urgon III Greyiron. When his father died, Torgon was away raiding along the Mander from his stronghold in Greyshield. So he took Greyshield. His brother sent him no word of the King's Moot, hoping that one would be chosen. However, Urathon, the fourth good brother, was chosen instead, and he had all of Torgon's brothers killed. So when Torgon returned and denounced the King's Moot as unlawful and revolted against Urathon, with the aid of priests, lords, and Urathon's own captains. Although he was not chosen at the King's Moot, Torgon ruled fairly for 40 years. Torgon was succeeded by his son Uragon IV, Greyiron, who also became king of without a King's Moot. So what am I saying? So king dies, king's moot happens. Torgon's like, I don't need to go. I got a bunch of brothers. So all the brothers go, and some other dude wins it, right? Some guy from Good Brother. And he kills all of this guy's brothers. So then Turgon's like, argh! And then he goes, takes the Iron Islands anyways, because the guy's most likely really hated. He takes the Iron Islands back and then becomes a good king. So why is this important? Why should not only you read History of the Ironborn, but why should Asha read it? Well, big if here, if Torgon the Latecomer is the one mentioned at the one time, since this book is a history of not only the Ironborn, but has all these different King's Moots written, and it has, you know, a description of why, and the only time where a King's Moot was overturned. Why should Asha read it? Well, so why read this book? Well, I'm just a humble librarian and not a theorist, by the way. I'm not. But I assume this is all leading to Theon returning, since he wasn't at the King's Moot. Theon returns to the Iron Islands and takes his rightful seat and rid the evil uncle and his rules. And then he rules for 40 years. I can't read my own handwriting today. Do I actually think this is possible? Maybe. The fact that it is foreshadowed like this makes me think Asha will at least try this. But odds are not in King Theon the Great Latecomer's favor. First off, him and Asha are currently held captive by Stannis, who himself and his supporters are very into burning people alive. So he and Asha will need to get out of that pickle. So that's going to be difficult enough to return to the Iron Islands, get supporters, and actually get control from Euron. These are huge asks, right? It all seems pretty impossible. And even if all of it happens, would the tortured Theon make a good ruler? Probably not. I'll put the odds at near zero. Like what I just said. So there is a lot of course, connections between Torgon the Latecomer and Theon, right? Like he wasn't there, like so on and so forth. And also the Good Brother who takes over for him was an awful ruler, right? So you can get enough people to, like, you know, overthrow Euron. But keep in mind the people that he used, specifically priests and other lords, unlike this dude who Torgon overthrew, Euron's getting rid of his brother and other priests who taught crap. He is already getting rid of them. Not only that, but he's naming all of these lords. He's kind of winning them all over, giving them like shield isles, giving them other things, letting them be in control of stuff. So Euron's way smarter. He most likely has a library card, and he most likely has read this book too, because he's like, I'm not going to get Torgoned. So is it possible? Sure. I think there's a reason why she has now been mentioned, either to go read History of the Ironborn for the one time it was overthrown, or told from Tristan the one time it was overthrown, overturned. It has to be so this can be her arc, right? But you know George. George is really weird with arcs. So I'm not sure if this is going to work. So that is History of the Ironborn. Go read that book. It doesn't exist, but go pretend you read it. And that is my book recommendation for the week, is The History of the Ironborn. I am the Song of Ice and Fire librarian. And thank you. Watch all my other stuff. This is the first time I'm doing this one. I do have character videos and what's the differences and other stuff. And probably got a big tournament going on right now. So go check all that out. And let me know which in-world book, other than Fire and Blood, you want me to cover. I have a small list, but I think I'm going to put this out, see what you guys think, and then maybe do more. So, yeah. That's it. Do you think Theon's going to be Theon the Latecomer and take over the Ironborn and rule for 40 years? Let me know in the comments. All right. Thank you, guys. Peace.